PSA stops grading Holo bleed cards. Welcome to the Solemn Yu-Gi-Oh channel where we discuss everything collecting and investing in Yu-Gi-Oh. So this isn't super new. This has been something that has been talked about the past few weeks. And so I'm seeing it more and more from people who are grading their cards at PSA. People grading beautiful Yu-Gi-Oh cards like this at PSA. And instead of getting their card in a gorgeous slab and having a grade and everything, they just get it back with a little label and them saying, hey, get fucked. We're not grading this card. Even though the card is real. And the reason given is Holo bleed. I'm not sure what they call it on the label. I would have to check really quickly. But very consistently what we're seeing is the reason for not grading is Holo bleed. Now what is Holo bleed? Very often on secret rares, but also on other cards. It can happen on ultras. We've seen some of these on starter deck Kaiba Yugi. And again, all throughout Yugi's life basically, a variety of rarities sometimes have a little bit of the holographic, which is, in the card, seeping through the text box where it doesn't belong. Like if you have a secret rare card like this, let's take this Aaron for example, you have your secret rare within your frame and maybe on your name, but that's it. Now when you have that same secret pattern going through your text box lightly or very harshly, that is Holo bleed or foil bleed, whatever you want to call it. Now for the longest time this was no issue. It's part of the cards, and sure, it's like a defect. Some people want to call it a misprint. I wouldn't really call it a misprint, but again, you can call it whatever you want, but they're part of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And suddenly, PSA has decided, hey, we're no longer grading that. We consider this a defect that makes it ungradable. I don't know why, it makes no sense. I know for a fact that right now certain people are trying their best to get them to change this decision. I've also heard whispers of this happening in Pokemon, but I don't have confirmation for that because I'm just not deeply into Pokemon, but I just wanted to give that to you. Maybe it's the case. If you grade Pokemon, let me know if it's the case. But so yeah, that is a really big problem in my opinion, because Holo bleed again, some sets even have it harsher. Assuming that PSA fixes this issue, then we're all good, right? Then nothing changes. Maybe in a few months from now they go, oh, sorry guys, we understand it is part of Yu-Gi-Oh! And we'll just start grading them again. Okay, sucks for the people who didn't get their cards graded. I'm pretty sure they still had to pay. But regardless, then it's a drop in the bucket, whatever. However, if they do not revert this decision, and let's say Holo bleed remains ungradable, that is going to have an impact on the market. Not on the whole market, LOB Blue Eyes, SDK Blue Eyes, price cards and so forth aren't going to get fucked because of PSA being weird about Holo bleed, like chill out. But certain segments of the market will be affected by this. What is the obvious segment that will be affected? Well, cards with Holo bleed. Two major things in my opinion would be happening, and again this is just speculation. First of all, a raw card with Holo bleed will become worth less. And the reason for this is that there's many collectors, and usually the collectors with big bucks willing to spend on certain cards, who want graded cards. Again, there's also many collectors who like binders, there's many collectors who just want to put everything in their deck, there's many collectors who like loose-side cases. I have a few standing here, like I get it, but there's also just big spenders who love their PSA graded cards, who love this slab, what it represents, how it feels. I'm part of that as well. And so when these people can no longer turn those Holo bleed cards into graded cards, well, then they just won't buy the Holo bleed card. As long as that uncertainty exists, they're like, well, I'll be forced to not have it graded, and I really wanted to turn this into a graded card. So a big pool of demand, let's say, for these cards will vanish. Again, there will be fans who will still want them. I'm not saying they'll go to zero, but you will notice that. Right now, I am holding off on certain buys purely because they have Holo bleed, and I'm like, well, I want them graded. I don't want them raw. I'm not gonna buy this card and then have it and suddenly here in like 2 years, oh yeah, we're never changing that, and be stuck with the Holo bleed card. Well, stuck, I'll still be able to sell it, but I don't want to deal with any of that. I want the card graded. So that's the first thing, Holo bleed cards are probably, when they're not graded, gonna see a decrease in demand ever so slightly. Now the second thing this could do is that sets that are notorious for Holo bleed, which is also a thing, should go up in price relative to the rest of the market. Again, I'm not saying that, oh, these are gonna stonk so hard on their own and so forth. Like, depending on what the market does, those cards will still follow what the market does, but they should outperform that that. Why? Well, because you can no longer grade them as easily. There are certain sets where the holo seeps through quicker. A good example, I think, is Yada Garasu, you know, LOD. I see so many Yadas with holo bleed, which means the pop of Yada can't fucking change as long as PSA doesn't grade more of them. And again, not all of these Yadas have holo bleed, they exist without, but let's say that 8 out of 10 Yadas have holo bleed, suddenly that's 80% of the raw population that can no longer be converted into graded. This is not me saying, by the way, oh, go buy all the Yadas, like nothing like that, but I'm trying to illustrate like, hey, your supply is gonna stay capped artificially compared to other cards in the market. For stonks investors who already have these cards, you know, they're probably happy. They're like, oh yeah, cool, more appreciation. But for collectors who want these damn cards, they're like, well, I really wanted to turn my favorite Yada or whatever card, there's plenty other examples, into a goddamn graded card. And now they can't. I'm also in this camp. There's quite a few secret rares that I would really like to grade myself, and now I can't, you know, as long as they are saying fuck holo bleed, I'm just stuck with these raws. Now I still like the cards, I'll hold on to them, but I really wanted them in a slab. So yeah, that's just a quick discussion. I do hope PSA reverts this change. I know for a fact there's people out there doing their best to get it changed. I'll keep you updated. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Hope you found it interesting, and I will see you soon. Ciao.